Welcome to another episode of the Anyone But Cam Fantasy Football Podcast. I am your host. My name is Frankie, and sitting across the internet from me is Cam. Cam, how's it going today?
It's going pretty good over here on the 4-0 squad. How's it for you, Frankie?
You know, I'm already at half of my win total from last season, so could be worse. But
Yeah.
you know, I wouldn't even if I did win this week, I wouldn't have felt good about it being the second. Well, I would have been the second highest scorer of the week, and so obviously I wish that Sammy didn't get injured, and I wish I won, but I can't like I can't really feel like I was robbed or anything, because it's not like any of my other players did anything.
Mm-hmm.
But
I'm sure Justin's not too upset about getting his first win.
Yeah, you know what? So he can look at it as like a gift. You're welcome, Justin.
He needed it.
Yeah, so in this episode, we're going to do our usuals. We're going to start with a quick waiver discussion, move right into our weekly rewinds, then jump right into our power rankings, do our usual matchup of the week analysis. We're going to do a new segment this week called What's More Likely. We'll see what that's about when we get there. And then we'll wrap it up with a mailbag. Sound good to you?
Sounds great.
Alrighty. So we'll start with just a quick overview of how the waivers went this morning, because we are recording this on Monday morning. Some of the headlines this week, at least in my opinion, was my nabbing of Kiki. You can all applaud me for that one. I know, Cam, you went after Kiki as well.
Yeah, you snabbed him for $26 when I bid 21. Next highest was Logan at 7. I was really hoping to get some wide receiver depth, but guess not.
Yeah, I need any kind of depth, so I went for that. And then looking over to one of my other big takeaways was Nyheim Hines for $35 to Greg. Now that's a power play, Greg.
That is the highest bid made by anyone not named Logan so far this season.
Huh.
Also, I came second in that one, bidding $11 under Greg, so it definitely wasn't even close there.
Yeah. And then my only other big takeaway, besides for, I'm excited I got Rod Smith, but no one else seemed to, but it looks like Zeke is turning up anyway, so playing this week, so that won't matter too much. But Mike Davis for only $5. I would have thought he would have been more of a hot ticket item, considering we do have some Seahawks fans in this group, but I guess not.
I guess people may have seen how the Seahawks use running backs in the past, and people come and go pretty quick.
Yeah, that's very true. Alrighty, so just going to go over quick waivers really quickly, and let's jump right into our weekly rewinds, and we'll start with our matchup of the week last week with Tyler versus Greg. Congratulations, Tyler. You are no longer winless as well.
Good for him.
Some takeaways from Tyler's side of the ball here. James White is very good. Seems to be the only Patriots player performing on a weekly basis, which is great, considering his team isn't exactly loaded in the running back department. And then also Julio is starting to produce as well. Still isn't finding the end zone, but he's putting up big numbers without finding the end zone, which is very promising.
Yeah, also on Tyler's team, you said that he doesn't have a lot of running back depth, but Nick Chubb sitting there on his bench with 3 carries, 2 touchdowns, and 105 yards. I'm sure Tyler's looking forward to replicating that kind of production every week from a top 5 running back talent.
Yeah, two touchdowns on 3 carries. It's not like I don't think anyone should be acting like that's replicatable, but you never know, I guess. Moving over to Greg's side here. Once again, Fournette is injured. Congrats, Greg. And I'm just looking at his team. AJ Green does pretty well as my dog walks in. Go, get out of here. And just looking at his team overall, some pretty average to below average weeks from those players, besides for, let's say, Marshawn, who had another good week. I'm still a bit bitter about Greg nabbing Marshawn for me in the draft, because he's just been a beast every single week so far. And then Tyler Boyd as well, putting up good numbers. And I think it'll probably be a trend that continues for most of the rest of the season.
Yeah, Greg definitely has to consider benching Aaron Rodgers in the future, though, because Matt Ryan sitting on his bench with nearly 30 points doesn't help Greg's overall team spirit and whatnot.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. I don't. I get what he was doing, but like, if I was him, I would have found it very hard to bench a quarterback a week after he had a 40-point performance.
Yeah, definitely.
But all right, do we have any other takeaways? We're good to move on.
I'm good to go.
All right, I'm gonna take my dog out of my room. Get out of here. Moving on to our next matchup, we're gonna be looking at is Dylan versus JP. Dylan continues his reign of dominance over pretty much everyone he plays. Some of the takeaways from his team is that Vikings-Rams game on Thursday night was insane. And you can see that with Thielen for 23.5, Diggs for about 18. George Kittle, 21.5 points from a tight end in the year 2018. Oh my. Yeah, it's just a lot. Just looking at, but then I get the other big takeaways here from Dylan's team is that he's having a little bit of a running back crisis. James Conner the Steelers couldn't do anything against the Ravens in the second half, so that's a little bit, you understand where his numbers are coming from. 4 carries total for Alfred Morris. That's not good. And then with the injury to Dalvin Cook, I'm not really sure who he's looking to start this week, but Dylan's got some issues to work out there.
Yeah, definitely. All of his running backs besides Dalvin Cook seem like they're becoming the odd man out in the committees that they're currently in, with Aaron Jones replacing Jamal Williams, Chris Carson getting injured, and we talked about Mike Davis earlier. He's definitely got to hope that one of them can keep giving him at least some production for that RB2 spot.
Yeah. Speaking of running backs, looking over to JP's side, David Johnson, is he back?
Let's hope.
Finally? So. I mean, he had a good week last week, another good week this week. Man, that makes me excited. But also looking for running backs on JP's team, you have Lamar Miller with an injury this week. At this point, we still don't know exactly what's going on with that injury. It's unclear if he's going to play this week, but we will see. And if he doesn't play this week, he's looking to start. He's pretty much in a position that he's forced to start Giovanni Bernard, which is like a fine start if he's healthy too, but that's not guaranteed either. And then also, I would have, because of these reasons, I would have thought that JP would have tried to make a play for some kind of running back on the waivers this week. Not so.
Yeah.
But I mean,
pretty surprising considering JP does have the second most fab left among the league. So he's got at least some money he can splash down if he wants to, but apparently saving it.
Yeah, and then other big takeaway here is it's like the third average, or I guess below average for Gronk standards week in a row, and it looks like he's doing his usual Gronk thing of getting injured. So, and the Patriots play on Thursday night, so I'm finding it pretty unlikely that he's going to play. So that leaves, does he have a tight end? No, it means he needs to find another tight end and probably another running back to play this week, or at least someone needs to figure out who wants to play in his flex. But yeah, let's move on now to Devin versus Levi.
So Devin's team, he got Todd Gurley in that Thursday night Rams game, which Todd Gurley's always solid. Also, Brandon Cooks put up a lot of points in that game. Other than that, there's not a lot of solid performers on his team right now. Like Zach Ertz is a great tight end, and he's solid. But otherwise, all of his other Eagles, Nelson Aguilar only getting 3.7. Carson Wentz was all right with 20 points. Jordan Howard, 2.5 points in the Bears' offensive explosion. You really got to hope that he's more involved in that kind of game, don't you?
Some do. I wouldn't. But we'll talk about that more later. My other takeaway from Devin's side is why wouldn't you start Alshon this game?
I actually have some inside information on that.
Okay.
Devin was having issues taking him off of his IR spot for some reason, and decided that it just wasn't worth it.
Okay. Yeah. And then my last takeaway from Devin's side is Kerryon is continuing to produce. Kerryon, I'm proud of you. Get out there, guy.
Yeah, only needed 9 carries because some offensive coaching staffs don't realize when they have a great running back talent. I don't know why.
That's true. looking over more at Levi's side, looking at a theme this week of issues at running back. Derrick Henry is a bad fantasy running back. That's just the truth, I feel like, at this point. But Mark Ingram is coming back this week, and it could change. Honestly, it could change the whole landscape of our league with seeing how he'll affect Kamara and how he can help boost Levi's team.
Yeah, especially with Matt Breida losing his starting quarterback. There's not a lot of hope on Levi's running back roster when he had Chris Thompson and other people on bye. I guess no really other running backs. But if he can get great production out of Mark Ingram and then find good production out of Chris Thompson and other RB2s, look out.
Yeah, and speaking of good running backs on this team, Duke Johnson, is he now a fantasy factor now that Baker Mayfield's at the helm? Maybe. I think so.
Well, looking at him, he's got 2 2-point conversions this week, so at the very least, he's a 2-point conversion specialist.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say because there's like 80 plus points scored in that game, but I think there is some opportunity there. And then last piece of news here is that we're not super sure what's going on with Will Fuller and his injury. He put up a good week even with getting injured, but it's like unclear. We're having conflicting reports over what his injury is going to look like. So not super sure he's going to be able to play this week, but we'll look at that moving on. Moving on to the next matchup here, we have Jake versus Lassie.
Oh, boy.
Jake continuing to put up another big week of scoring. My goodness.
Yeah, Jake Logan, after that first week, has scored in the top 6 points each week so far. So his team's definitely looking really solid.
Very true. Very solid, except for Jordan Wilkins. What is he doing? He just looks so out of place on the roster. And beneficiary of playing Robert Woods. Even though he didn't play Cooper Kupp, he still benefited a bit from that Rams and Vikings game, which was good to see for him.
Yeah, one problem with Jake's team, though, is he's got to figure out who to start at that wide receiver position because 26 points from Corey Davis on the bench and 32 from Cooper Kupp. I'm not going to be jealous of those start-sit decisions going forward. Yeah,
it's very true. And one other thing, a couple other things to look at here. Sterling Shepard, big week from him. I think this could be a trend too, especially looking this next week against Carolina. I'm looking to see him put up another big week there. That could be interesting. And then we saw a bit of a down week from Mike Evans, and I guess that's partially a product of just being dominated overall by that Chicago defense. Mm-hmm. But he is on bye this week, so we'll see if he can get that rapport going again with Jameis Winston. But I'm curious to see if the rest of his season will be more like the first 3 weeks fantasy-wise or like the last week. I think it could honestly go either way.
Yeah, definitely got to hope that Mike Evans stays solid for that team.
Yeah. Looking over to Lassie's side, we had another really good week from Golden Tate, who's like becoming the wide receiver 1 on the Lions in terms of just being able to, in terms of like targets and being able to get those yards after the catch. Although it's very much a 3-headed race right there. Mm-hmm. As another week where LaShawn McCoy does almost nothing. He's like barely hanging on to like RB2 consideration at this point. I almost forgot. Amari did what Amari does, and he benched him, and so he scored a bunch.
Yeah, Lassie's really got to realize whether or not he wants to start his Oakland players because they combined for almost 50 points on his bench, which could have put him over Jake Logan for the win on this week if he really started him.
Yeah. And his just love for Josh Gordon is too much. Josh Gordon, who's scored like a total of like 12 points this season.
Speaking of that, Logan has been talking to me recently about trying to make us have points for moral victories in this league, which I obviously think is ridiculous. But I think Lassie got one of the most moral victories we could ever have in this league, getting Josh Gordon to score 420 points. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
It was meant to
I was
be.
gonna say, how do you even define a moral victory? But there you go. That defines it right there.
Uh-huh.
Alrighty, let's move on to our second last matchup we're gonna look at today, and that is, it's my matchup. Oh boy, how exciting! What a barn burner. Yeah, blah blah. Anyways, hey guys, remember at the draft when I said I really shouldn't draft Kenyon Drake, and then I did anyways. Yeah, good times.
I have a stat that I actually figured out for Kenyon Drake that I want to share real quick.
Okay.
Over the last 2 weeks, Taysom Hill, the Saints' backup quarterback, has had one less carry than Kenyon Drake, but over 10 times the amount of yards rushing.
Was that supposed to be a fun fact?
Yeah, super fun. Just so you know.
Super fun. Okay, well, it's not no fun for me. I was talking to you a bit about this before the show, but like I've been trying to do a lot this week, the last 3 weeks, but especially this week. I've entertained approximately 8 or maybe 9 actual now different trade offers in the past 2 days with various people in the league. Doing my best here, but my God, I need some change here. I need the Steelers to wake up. I need Big Ben to start playing second half season Big Ben a little bit sooner. That'd be great. And yeah, I still think I know Larry didn't do much this week, but I still am looking forward to Josh Rosen and relying on him more. I just need Larry Fitzgerald to not drop 3 out of his 7 targets. Are you a Hall of Famer or not? Anyways, my last takeaway is Tariq Cohen. What? Who's that guy? I drafted him, and he's on my team, and he scored 26 points, and I'm probably never going to play him. Cool. Moving on. Look at Justin's side. Things to note here. A reasonably good game from OBJ without a score, I don't think he's scored so far this season. And he's still putting up good numbers, which is very promising for Justin. Especially considering you're looking at his running back situation, has arguably maybe it's probably the second worst running back situation in the league, with having to start Chris Ivory and Peyton Barber this week because Christian McCaffrey was on bye. T.Y. has another good week here. It's 3 out of 4 pretty dang good weeks from T.Y., although it looks like he's probably injured, and it's going to be a quick turnaround because he plays Thursday night. So it looks like he's going to look for somebody else in his team. But he does get 3 players back from bye this week, which is a bit more promising, although, I mean, looking for startable assets, man, maybe just Devin Funchess. I'm not sure who else he'd want to be starting this next week.
I mean, he gets Christian McCaffrey back, and then he gets the Bengals running back, what's his face, back as well. So that'll be good for his running back core. But replacing T.Y. is definitely going to be tough. That's why he picked up Ryan Grant.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I can definitely. Okay, that makes sense. So then let's move on to our last matchup of the week, which is going to be you, Cam, versus Logan. What did you see in your matchup from your side?
All I saw was a lot of green pastures and good times. Honestly, Alvin Kamara, just my homie, best.
I'm going to
friend.
ban his name from this podcast pretty soon. I don't want to talk about him anymore.
Oh, well, then why don't we transition over to Melvin Gordon? 15
That's fine. I like
carries,
him.
100 yards, got a touchdown off of 7 catches on 10 targets. Just what a great guy. John Brown, Baltimore wide receiver 1. Trey Burton, who's all right. He got a long touchdown, I guess. But Kareem Hunt coming out of the shadows. Just, it's such a good time to be me right now.
Yeah, Kareem Hunt's the big takeaway this week, in my opinion, on your team. Other than Tyreek, what's going on, man? Where you been? 2 weeks now? Taking a nap? I don't know, man. What's going on?
I mean, 13 targets is no small amount. It's more than 2017 receptions leader Jarvis Landry got this week, so I'm fine with that for now.
Yeah. And then I guess, I don't know how many times we have to say it on the podcast, but Chris Hogan. Yeah.
Yeah, I got a lot of people that I'm considering dropping, but there's no one worth dropping for on my bench right now. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah. Alrighty. Well, I guess we'll do one more thing. We'll gotta look at Logan's side here too, real quick. Takeaways from his side. He had a big comeback this week, points-wise, considering he scored 68.54 last week and jumps all the way up to 111.48. Talk about a comeback. That's crazy. He did that off the back of, Kirk Cousins performing well, Philip Lindsay doing very well for himself, both on the ground and in the air as well, getting those just extra bonus points, basically. But Calvin Ridley, his nickname is better than Julio. Is that true? I don't think so, but for fantasy-wise, maybe.
Definitely at scoring touchdowns. Way better.
Yeah, and considering they have Pittsburgh and then Tampa Bay the next 2 weeks, yeah, that's looking like a very startable asset.
Logan has claimed to me that he is the best in our league at picking up free agents or waiver claims, and right now it's looking pretty true right now.
Yeah, honestly, that is true. And then also my other big takeaway here is 25 carries for Sony Michel. Oh my, give me a piece of that.
I wish Rex Burkett could have had a piece of that.
Alrighty. So that was our weekly recap. We're going to move on now to our power rankings for this week.
Vegeta, what does the scouter say about his power level? It's over 9,000! What, 9,000? There's no way that can be right!
I did these power rankings this week, and I'm going to go through them, and we're going to say some words. Not too many huge movers from last week, but I did break them up into tiers again this week, or actually I'm not sure if I did that last week, but I broke them up into tiers. We have, let me count, looking at 4 different tiers of players. So let's just get right into it. Start at the bottom, and at the very bottom here, I do have at number 12 and 11 respectively, I have Lassie and Greg, mostly because they're just not scoring a lot of points. It's kind of this is the 3rd week in a row for Greg scoring outside of the top 6. Lassie has yet to make an appearance on the top 6 scoring for the week.
Lassie has yet to score over 100 points. Actually, that's not looking great for him.
Yeah, there's another team with that as well. We'll talk about that in a moment. But yeah, so it's just not looking great. And then I don't know. I'm just and another reason why I have Greg this low is just because of the whole injury thing with Fournette, and like he could get injured every single week. Like he's just never him at 100% is like okay, Leonard Fournette when he's at 100% is amazing, but like you can hardly ever get him at 100%, and when he's not 100%, he's prone to get injured.
Yeah,
as we saw this week, coming back from an injury probably too quickly.
Definitely.
So yeah, that's kind of why I have them at the bottom too.
All right, I have nothing but agreement there.
All right, and then the next tier up I have, I guess would be number 10. I have myself, and then above me, then Justin, JP, and Logan. I kind of put us all in the same tier here, mostly because everyone in this tier is just we're all scoring about the same amount. I am scoring the least, which is why I have that myself down there in 10th place. We're all scoring about the same. We all have, we're all 2 and 2 or 1 and 3 teams. So I just feel like for the most part, it's all pretty interchangeable. Like most of us have the ability to put up number 6 scoring weeks. So like it's like just barely breaking in. So it's like we're just kind of in that like meandering, like some of us are kind of contenders for at least making playoffs, but like also not. We're just kind of in a weird limbo is kind of where I see this tier.
Yeah, what I think about this tier is it's all teams that haven't had a lot of success like the bottom tier so far, but each of these teams at least has some things that could go right for it and make them better teams in the future, like you with Le'Veon Bell coming back, Justin getting back his running backs, Logan with his waiver pickups, and if JP can get the Patriots offense to get off the ground and Gronk to start being Gronk again, then all of these teams I see a lot of upward mobility for.
Yeah, very much so. Alrighty, and then so my next tier up, which I guess would be number 6 and number 5 then. So number 6 I have Tyler Walker, finally getting his first win. And then right above him in the same tier, I have him and Devin together. They were both teams who have scored in the top 6 exactly twice this season. Tyler in the first and fourth week, Devin in the second and third. So they're kind of like flip-flopped which weeks they're like outscoring each other. So I find the teams to be relatively similar in both like week-to-week performance and from what I'm kind of seeing their outlook rest of season, especially considering I also have them just kind of down here because they are in the bottom half of their division, and I think it's just kind of a toss-up which one of them could. I think both of them could end up second in the division. That's very much possible, but I think it's kind of right now it's a race to third and hopefully sneaking in that 6th playoff spot.
Mm-hmm. I think Tyler definitely with his super high points against makes sense that with his low record should be in this division or this tier. And then Devin's got a super solid roster basically all the way around with good running backs and receivers and a great tight end. And both these teams haven't had a lot of success so far, but there's a lot of reasons to think that they will be solid teams for the rest of the season.
Yeah. And then my next tier above that, I guess my B tier here is going to be number 4, we're going to have Jake Logan. Number 3, we're going to have Levi. The two of them have both scored in the top 6 3 times this season. Levi the last 3 weeks, and Jake as well, actually, the last 3 weeks. With, I believe, let's see, they've, basically flip-flop weeks that they've been outscoring each other as well. So it's just pretty even all around. I'm putting Levi just a bit above Jake just because I feel like this, I mentioned it earlier, but I feel like the Mark Ingram swing, I feel like the Mark Ingram swing could be a huge deal going forward and for the rest of the league, and I feel like that could make a giant impact and maybe even push Levi up a tier in the next couple weeks.
Yeah, I definitely agree there. Like Jake Logan, I think if he can always set his best lineup, will be one of the best teams in this league, but he has so many decisions that I just would not want to make that his team could go any way it could. Yeah.
And then, so we'll go to our top tier here. Number 2, I have Dylan. Number 1, I have you. I think as we kind of discussed last week, it may be slightly interchangeable, but it's close enough to make that talk. Although, you guys both are have scored in the top 6 all 4 weeks, and you've also outscored him in each individual week. So that's kind of, I think, the ultimate, like, why I decided to put you above, even though, as we talked about, maybe a little bit of a downward trend, or like a slight downgrade is what I mean for Kamara going forward, but who knows? I mean, honestly, they could just be writing the hot hand and seeing that Kamara is the hot hand. But did you have thoughts about where you and Dylan are in this tier?
Yeah, so last week I did have Dylan above me, but with this recent news that Lev Bell could be returning as soon as week 7, James Conner just isn't looking as solid of a rest of season option that he was. And then with Dalvin Cook, just, we don't know what's happening with that injury. His running backs just aren't solid enough for, I think, him to pass me in these power rankings. And also just looking at things, my lowest score of the season is better than 5 different teams' highest score of the season. So I just don't know how you couldn't put that at top of the power rankings.
Yeah. Alrighty. So that was probably our least debated power rankings ever. Mm-hmm. Congrats to us, I guess.
Great power rankings, Frankie.
Thank you. Alrighty. So those are our power rankings, and we're going to move on now to our Spotlight Matchup of the Week. I had a little bit of trouble figuring out which ones I was going to do this week, but I just thought back, 10 months or whatever, 9 months ago, and thought back to something very important that happened in our league, and which, of course, was last year's championship match, which we see a rematch of this week, Cam versus Levi. This is the matchup of the week, easily in my opinion.
Yeah, who could forget that game? Oh boy.
Yeah, so the storylines going into this one, will Levi continue to just barely to be able to beat Cam again? And because Cam's on an undefeated trend right now, and at least to me, it looked like last year it was his title for the losing, and Levi took it from him. So we'll see if Levi can continue to have Cam's number, or if you will get your revenge. And then you have a note here about some of the player matchups you're looking at.
Yeah, so this matchup is pretty interesting because we both have a lot of players on similar teams. For example, I have Alvin Kamara, whereas he has Michael Thomas, the Saints' 2 top weapons. So, however, the yards and touchdowns swing in that game could definitely make a big impact here. As well as I have Tyreek Hill and Kareem Hunt for Kansas City, whereas he has Travis Kelce. I'd say they're top 3 weapons. And they're playing up against Jacksonville. So yards are probably going to be pretty scarce in that game, and it'll definitely be interesting to see how that affects the matchup.
Yeah, very much so. This is one this is a matchup I'm very much looking forward to. Just from like you were saying, just watching. I think it's going to be just watching. I feel like it's going to be a lot of fun watching like the actual football, like the Chiefs versus Jags games, the super high power offense versus the super good defense, and very excited to see how that all kind of turns out. I guess like I mentioned earlier with Levi's team, important thing to look at is the health of Will Fuller this week. See where that goes. I'm interested to see if Will Fuller isn't going to perform, if he just slides in Mark Ingram into that flex spot just to see what happens. I think that could be interesting as well.
That would be a bold call because that would make even more the Saints game be important, which is the Monday Night Football game. So this could easily come down to that.
Yeah. All right. So I think we should all be looking forward to that one. Looking into the rest of the week, Cam, did you have something matchup you want to talk about?
Oh, well, in fact, Frankie, I do. I have my upset of the week.
I'm upset.
Louder!
I'm upset.
Louder!
I'm upset.
Say it louder!
I'm upset.
And this one, I think, might surprise a lot of people because this is going to be a pretty big upset. I'm actually saying that Austin Lassiter, our 12th ranked power ranked team, is going to upset Dylan Mickanen, our 2nd overall ranked team.
Huh.
Yeah. There's a lot of thought that actually goes into this. For example, we talked about how Dylan's running backs haven't really been producing, and James Conner is playing against Atlanta, the Steelers are, which is probably going to be a shootout, so we don't know how much rushing will actually be there for James Conner, and he's not as involved in the passing game as Lev Bell was. And then another thing is the Vikings, which Dylan's team is so dependent on, are playing the Eagles. And we all know how that last matchup went between those teams, and I could easily see the Eagles just handling the Vikings once again, given their suspect offensive line.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, and then Patrick Mahomes has been Dylan's best scorer playing against Jacksonville, like we talked about. There's a lot of reasons to think Dylan can't put up the same kind of points he has been.
Yeah, honestly, I didn't look at Sunday's matchup, but yeah, versus Jacksonville, Philly, yeah, wow. I think this week I'm with you. You know what? Let's go, Lassie. I think I'm with you on this one.
And
I think it's a very, very strong pick for it'd be a huge upset.
Definitely would.
But I'd like to see it happen.
I think we all would.
Alrighty, that was Cam's upset of the week. One other thing to mention about this matchup is that Dylan will be defending the Try Hard Chalice this week.
I have to work harder, or I won't stand a chance. I want to excel. I want to be the greatest hero in the world. So I'll keep on trying until I've got what it takes to do that!
This is the first week it's been available since week 1, and it is up to Lassie to take it away from him, or Dylan will continue to hold on to that Try Hard Chalice for who knows how long. We're going to move on to a new segment. This one is called What's More Likely? And Cam, do you want to run down how is it going to work?
Yeah, so basically what we're both going to do, you and me, Frankie, we're going to set out a scenario of just 2 things that could possibly happen for the rest of the season or whatever. And whoever brings up the scenario, the other host is going to say which one they think is more likely. So if I say that I think
Simple enough.
it's more likely that Lassie wins this week or that Justin finds a girlfriend, I think we'd all say that it's more likely that Lassie's going to win this week.
All right. Well, I'll kick us off, and if that's all right with you.
It works for me.
Okay. My first one I came up with here is, Cam, what is more likely, that both you and Dylan never score outside of the top 6 the rest of season, or that Lassie and I never score within the top 6 rest of season?
Ooh, that is a good one, because never scoring outside the top 6 or never scoring inside. I would say it is more likely that you and Austin. Oh, goodness, this is a tough one. Yeah, I like it.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I would say that it is more likely that me and Dylan never score outside of the top 6. Because I think once bye weeks start rolling around, that one of you or Lassie's teams will just have to have one player just go off at a way where you guys will sneak into the top 6. There's no way it couldn't happen. And I feel like me and Dylan's teams are just, we have enough offensive firepower to where there's there's a better chance that we'd always have just one person going off and carrying our team.
Yeah. All right. I think I agree with that for the most part. All right. Now you're starting to give me one.
Yeah. So I have one that is Tyler Walker continues the trend of newbies to the league winning their championship in the first year, like Levi did last year, or only one team from the Alphas division makes it into playoffs.
Okay. So what's more likely, Tyler wins, or there's no wild cards in the Alphas?
Yes.
What is more likely? It's more likely that Tyler wins.
You think so? Why is that?
I think so. I think it's more likely that Tyler sneaks into 6th place, the 6th seed, and then makes some upsets late in the season, rather than either you or Jake missing playoffs. Yeah, I think easily.
Okay. Let's hope neither of those happen then.
Sure. Alrighty. Here's one more for you. Okay. What is more likely? That we have at least one repeat offender in a championship match, someone who's already competed in the championship match before, or that we have 2 brand new competitors.
Do you think that you could run through who the repeat offenders could be for me?
Okay. So the repeat offenders would be yourself, they'd be Greg, they would be me, they would be Lassie, and they would be Levi.
Okay. So I have to choose whether I think one of those will be in the championship game or if 2 newbies will be in there?
Or 2 newbies, yeah. 1 or more repeat offenders or 2 brand new competitors. What's more likely?
Well, if we think about it, looking at the divisions, I think there's a good shot that that Levi and me both make it into playoffs. Mm-hmm. And you, Greg, and Lassie are all more of long shots to get into the playoffs right now, in my opinion. So, based off the odds of how many teams I think are going to get into playoffs, and if just one team from the Alphas can take me out and Dylan can continue his trend, yeah, I think it's more likely that we have 2 new teams. I'll take the field.
All right. It's exciting. Yeah, I thought about this question this morning, and it was kind of like, it just kind of popped into my mind, and I was like, just thinking about it for a while, and I was like, honestly, I think it. I mean, obviously, you and Dylan are the 2 favorites to make it to make it the championship, but if someone takes you down, that's 2 new competitors.
Yeah.
Like, so. Alright, did you have another one for me?
I do. Mine is kind of on the same trend as your first question because it involves both me and Dylan. And it is
Okay.
that what's more likely? That my team goes undefeated but loses in the championship game, or that Dylan will wait until week 14 and have the most fab money in the league, hoping to get the waiver wire pickup that will win the league that never comes?
Wait until week 14. Huh.
So my thinking going into this is that me going undefeated and losing the championship game just seems like something that would happen to me in fantasy. Let's be honest. And then Dylan, we all remember last season when he was just hoarding that number one waiver priority, and it basically never worked out for him. I'm just thinking he's going to do the same thing, but with fab this time.
Yeah. I'm going to go with it's more likely that Dylan's situation is more likely because we're so far away from playoffs. Like there's still with bye weeks and you never know. Like I think it's less likely that you go undefeated necessarily. Not that you don't make the championship, but that you go undefeated than it is that Dylan sticks strong to his like morals of hoarding fab and like position on waivers.
That's fair. All right. Do you have any more, or would you like me to use my last one?
I'm out, so if you have one more.
All right. So this one is pretty interesting in my opinion.
Okay.
What is more likely, that none of the current division winners or leaders will make playoffs, or that there will not be a giant controversy that nearly ends the league for the rest of the season?
Oh my God. Well, for my own sake, I hope that doesn't happen. But I think it's more likely that it's just more likely that there won't be a league-ending or a league-threatening controversy than none of the division leaders. Like I just don't see a scenario where you and Dylan don't make playoffs. Doesn't make any sense to me.
All right.
Like unless like the injury bug just comes in for both of you, like it's crazy. I can't see it happening. And then with Logan, with my division, it's a toss-up. So like Logan is technically the leader, but
we'll see how that lasts.
Yeah. I mean, what controversies could happen? Maybe I don't want to put into the universe. But what controversies could happen? I mean, we had some rough stuff at the beginning. A transfer of power, a moving from platforms and rule changes, and all this kind of had to be ironed out. I guess the only other thing left to make a huge controversy will probably be the double headers that everyone's probably forgetting about is actually happening week 13. And that might be a bit of a mess. But I'm gonna do everything I can to prepare for that and stop that mess before it happens.
Let's hope for all of our sakes that nothing like that happens again.
Yeah, hopefully. All right, that was a good segment. We should do that semi-regularly.
I liked it.
Alrighty, so we're gonna move into our mailbag section. You guys can always submit questions to anyoneButCam@gmail.com. I'm gonna check real quick to make sure we don't have any new questions, and no, we're good. Alrighty, so we'll kick off here with our first question I got from Dylan, who writes in, and he writes, can you give everyone a rough percentage chance of them making the playoffs, from your gut?
I'd say, how about for this one, you give a percentage chance for your division, I'll give one for my division, and we'll split the last division.
Oh, okay. Do you want to start then?
Okay. So, starting from the bottom, we got Tyler Walker, who's sitting there at 1-3, but with 440 points for. I'd say that he has a 50% chance of making playoffs.
Huh.
Devin, with 12 more points for than Tyler, but the same amount of wins. We'll give him a 62% chance of making playoffs.
Okay.
And then Jake Logan, I like his team pretty well. He's got 2-game lead on the rest of the division besides me. I give him an 80% chance of making playoffs. And then myself, we'll call it 90. Seems fair.
Yeah. Alrighty, I'll go into my division. I guess starting at the bottom here with Lassie. Man. Probably like a 20, like 25, 27, 27.
All right, seems fair.
27. Going up to JP then, who's also 1-3. Man, I don't see two teams from this division making it, so it's like hard.
It's interesting though, because your division is definitely the closest between the top and the bottom team.
Yeah.
So like anything can happen.
Okay, maybe I feel like Logan, JP, and I have like a 50% chance each. Honestly,
Okay.
I think it could go either way for like any of us.
And
And
then
it'll go the right way for one of us, and it won't go the right way for the other two.
Okay. That's fair.
I think that's how I look at it.
All right. So looking lastly at Rotlack, I'd say if we start from the top, we'd both say Dylan has, I don't know, 85% chance of making playoffs.
Yeah, 90.
Okay. And then Levi sitting behind him at 3-1. I'd say that I honestly think he has a better shot of making it than Jake Logan does. If I gave an 80. So yeah, we'll give him the 85.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
Okay, and then Justin's definitely got to get some positive momentum to make playoffs. So maybe, how about we call it a 42? What do you think? Is that too high?
Well, gosh, no, I don't think it's too high.
Okay.
I think that's pretty fair.
And then we have Greg with the second least amount of points scored, sitting at 1-3. What'd you give Lassie? 27?
Yeah,
I'd give Greg 28.
28. Sorry, Lassie. Alrighty, alright.
Yeah.
So let's move on to our next question here. Is from Devin, and he writes, which 1-3 team is a definite shutout from playoffs? I guess we kind of answered that with our last question. I guess the answer would probably be Lassie.
Yeah, like Lassie or Greg are really the only two options. And I might pick Greg because Lassie I at least have more faith in to, put in the effort to turn it around. Just looking at the ownership. So I'm going to go Greg.
All right. Former champion, Greg Bates.
What an excellent champion he was.
Alrighty, and we have one more question here, at least from my side. This one is written in from Levi, who writes, can anyone besides Zeke and Gurley handle 400 touches a season? And the answer is well, yes, and it's Le'Veon Bell. He isn't, but he can handle that. Outside of those three, I don't think so.
I think David Johnson could. Whether or not his coach is going to let him is to be seen.
Yeah.
Other than that, maybe Jordan Howard.
I had his name in my mind, but I haven't watched enough Bears games this season, honestly, to really have a good analysis on him.
Well, I guess I don't know if Levi's asking if they can handle it or if I think that it's possible they could get it.
No, he says handle, which maybe he said handle. Maybe it means they could get it, but I was reading it as like they physically could do it and still be productive.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good list right there.
Yeah. Thank you all so much for listening to another episode of the Anyone But Cam Best Football Podcast. I've been Frankie.
I'm Cam.
Good luck to all of you on your matchup this week, besides for Tyler, of course.
And Levi's brother, but I know he's not going to listen to this, so it doesn't matter.
I heard Jordan does listen to this sometimes, at least.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well,
if you're listening, Jordan, shout out to you, man.
Yeah, we'd like to have last season's champion on the podcast every once in a while.
It's true. Yeah, so thank you all for listening, and have some good time watching football this week. And hope you all have a good weekend.
And good luck.